Petscop is a masterpiece. Your boys at Garalina have done it again. In the game, you take the role of this beautiful boy. Let's just call him Ernest first. As you go around collecting a variety of items such as keys, party hats, and even beloved pets. Oh nice, I caught it. And each pet has a detailed description about them, much like reading an item description from Dark Souls. This game was the precursor to non-linear storytelling. I mean, who cares about Dark Souls, really? So what, you can turn yourself into a headstone, who cares? An amusing thing about Petscop is that it's abnormally rare. The only actual way to find any footage of it is to visit a YouTube channel with the same name. And for some reason, the guy playing it sounds like Psychic Pebbles.
I'm just gonna keep going a bit here. Welcome to Schmucks. The game is apparently unfinished because there's nothing over here.
The visuals give you this nostalgic throwback to games like Spyro the Dragon and Parappa the Rapper. Seriously, to this day, I boot up Spyro just to look at them stunning skyboxes. There's something so humbling about them. The game is just amazing the way it can track you in. Almost like an inescapable...
Okay. Alright.
She's in real trouble because then everything will tumble around her.
So, I haven't been exactly honest with you about this game. As a matter of fact, I've lied to you. Petscop isn't real. It was uploaded onto the Petscop YouTube channel and nowhere else because it doesn't exist. There is no family time waster game called Petscop. There is no Garalina video game company. Why are the levels unfinished? Who would release a game to the general public before completion? And no, I'm not talking about early access! Petscop is an enigma, and I want to dedicate this video to uncovering and analysing it. The format is presented as a let's play, but as the series progresses, both Paul and ourselves find the game increasingly harder to comprehend. I've left timestamps in the description for each Petscop video, and then an overall conclusion to wrap the series up. And also a disclaimer, as the themes in Petscop are incredibly dark and morbid, this game does a great job at decepting people, and I'd be lying to you if the series was bright colours and cheery music throughout. If this sounds like too much to handle, then feel free to retreat back to the YouTube trending tab. I'm sure there's some absolutely stellar content to be found there. Or if that doesn't interest you, I'm sure PewDiePie has uploaded another 25-minute unedited Battlegrounds video with no face cam. Oh! Oh! I thought I died! What the fuck? Yes!
That's a joke, by the way.
But to the remaining 3% of you, let's begin the breakdown. The first Petscop video was uploaded the 12th of March 2017 with the description, "The game I found." The video begins with your standard PlayStation 1 and Sony boot up start screens. Something of note how the boot up sound for the PlayStation glitches out towards the end. As most PS1 discs at this point, unless seriously protected, would have scratches and marks, causing in-game glitches or effects. And secondly, that glitch could convey a sign of unease or disturbance. Imagine playing a video game, it's 3 in the morning, the only light is coming from your monitor, the only sound is coming from your headphones, and then the game crashes. Silence. We've all experienced this at some point or another, that unease, that tension as you're taken away from the game into a silent, dark room. I could be massively overanalyzing a boot up screen, but still, that's the way I interpreted it. The next splash screen shows Garalina, the company that I assume developed and published Petscop. Again, as I've mentioned before, I'm sure that Garalina is a fictitious company, with any search of the name coming up with links back to Petscop like theories and subreddits. If this is the case, then I have to commend the creator for not only creating a fictional game, but a fictional company to back it. Finally, we arrive at the menu screen for Petscop, and we can see that the game was made in 1997. We're then introduced to our narrator for the series. He never states his actual name, but because he puts his save file name as Paul, that's what we'll refer to him as. Also of note, on the file name screen, we can see the PS1 controller prompts. Select, finish, and go back. But the triangle for go back seems to be quivering, while the other prompts seem fine. I'm unsure if this was intentional or not, but if it is the game telling us to go back? Also, this is a stretch, as I'm unsure if it applies to other countries outside the UK. But over here on the road, signs displayed in a triangle format mean a warning. This is definitely not related to Petscop, but just more food for thought.
Alright, so, this is just to, prove to you that I'm not lying about this game that I found. I'm just gonna walk you through everything that I've seen so far, and obviously it'll be exactly as I described it, because this is it.
It's unclear who Paul is talking to. Originally, I assumed it was his YouTube audience, as he uploaded the series onto his channel with the description, "The game I found." But his use of the pronoun you instead of you guys, I feel like instead of addressing an audience, he's addressing someone personal to him, like a friend. Getting a bit sidetracked, but I'm incredibly happy he never says you guys, because on this platform, that wording is so oversaturated.
I'm glad you guys joined us today.
You guys, I'm doing a live stream.
As you guys can see,
Look what I'm doing for you guys.
For you guys as well.
You guys.
Next, we see the loading screen, which is presented in a somewhat basic but cheery presentation. Note the present box being held up on a pole. This imagery is plastered everywhere in the opening areas of the game, and also has more meaning later on. Past the loading screen, Paul is now in the first area of the game, what we can presume to be named the gift plane. A strange, almost heaven-like realm where white mist shrouds the area. Clouds can be seen in the distance, as well as those presents mentioned prior. A sign states the gift plane is closed indefinitely and all personnel have left. The sign also gives a brief explanation of what the gift plane is: a shelter for over 100 pets. Unfortunately, we have failed to remove all the pets from their homes. 48 pets remain here. We would strongly encourage you to visit our 8 homes and find some friends to take with you. Notice how the numbers of pets remaining and the homes of said pets are marked in red and quiver. Not too dissimilar as the triangle telling us to go back did. So already we've been given our goal in a text box. Nothing really out of the ordinary, and honestly, this text crawl is how a lot of games began their adventures back in the 90s. Paul then travels to the far right of the map, revealing that the game is unfinished. There's no big door or a gate halting our progress until we have a certain amount of items. There's just nothing. So instead, Paul goes inside Even Care, the seemingly only finished level of the game. The entrance, instead of having more white mist, is decorated with trees, grass, and a hedge surrounding the area. Inside Even Care, the misty plains are replaced with vibrant pinks and blues, splashed all over the walls and floors. Each room is also sparsely decorated with desks, tables, and chairs. Even though we're presented with this bright color palette and cheery music, if anything, it makes you feel more uncomfortable, like it's a front for something inconceivably dark. The first item we can interact with is a picture of 2 pets. Tonith, the bird marked in red, and Randis, the flower marked in green. Paul then tries to open a door down the hallway and is told this door is locked. Or not, but you don't know how to open doors. This is most definitely a nod to the fact that Paul's character has oversized feet, but no arms or hands to speak of. From here on in, the messages on the boards get more disturbing, much like any other horror game that builds tension. Another sign states, when you're choosing a pet, find somebody that you like. You don't have to love them right away. Notice how the sign said both pet and somebody in the same sentence. It seems strange that you'd refer to a pet as somebody. The sign adjacent says, don't be discouraged if they run from you. They really do want a home. They're afraid. Show them that there's nothing to be afraid of. The first pet we come across is Amber. Her appearance is this giant grey ball wearing what appears to be a dark green hat.
Look at this fucking fedora, for instance.
And although she seems to be locked up inside a small cell, her expression is one of glee. There's a trophy in front of her cage with an inscription stating, she's a real champ for never leaving her cage. And that trophy seems to hold some merit, as Amber is very reluctant to leave her cage. Firstly, Paul opens her cage, which makes her retreat to the empty cage. Paul then locks himself inside her cage. Amber hops back into the cage, thinking it's empty, and we catch her. Paul was only able to catch Amber by tricking her. Amber thought she could return to the safety of her cage, only for Paul to be waiting inside said cage to catch her. Although this was a puzzle, it was definitely one of deception, and we'll notice this as a reoccurring theme throughout the series. Amber's item description reads, Amber is a young bull. She's afraid to leave home. If her home is good, this is not a problem. She is very heavy, and that makes her life a little harder, as well as yours. What's the safest place you can put her in? You should start thinking about that. Now, I can understand the term homebody is used a lot, somebody who likes to stay at home and is generally unadventurous. But what would bring Amber to classify her home as what appears to be a prison cell? A couple rooms down, Paul finds Ronith, and he goes on to say in the video that as much as he's tried, he's unable to catch him. Something of note is how Ronith looks like a combination of Tonith the bird and Randis the flower. Apart from physical similarities, Ronith is a mix between the names Tonith and Randis. So could Ronith be the child of these two? Personally, I hope not. I've seen enough Flowey Rule 34 to last a lifetime. Unsuccessful in catching Ronith, Paul retreats into another room where we find another pet. Paul demonstrates his past experience with the game and explains how to catch the pet. The last two pets we find in even care are Wavy the rain cloud and Brandis the flower. The two follow each other in some sort of relationship where Wavy has to support Randis with his rainwater. Whenever Paul approaches either one of them, they disappear, so Paul has to drag a rain bucket onto the soil and forces Wavy to put his rainwater inside the bucket, meaning Randis can't get any and shrivels up, so Paul is able to collect the two of them. Paul then returns to the room with Ronith and reads out a note he apparently found with the copy of the game. The note reads, I walked downstairs, and when I got to the bottom, instead of proceeding, I turned the right and became a shadow monster man. Another section of the note displays a date, the 13th of June, 1997. For you, please go down to my website on the sticker and also go to Ronith's room and press start and press down, 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 right. Start. Two quick things to mention. The website on the note is never linked or spoken of again. And the date on the note, the 13th of June 1997, is Friday the 13th. And I'm pretty sure all of you know at this point that that day is associated with bad luck. As soon as Paul enters the code on the note, the music comes to a halt. Everything is still. And watching the series back, I now realize how well of a job the goofy music did in covering the uncomfortable atmosphere of this game. Paul then leaves Even Care the way he came in, but instead of finding himself back onto Gift Plain, we're transported to a dark, murky and gloomy place. It looks like a test room, not too dissimilar from a debug room like for example the one in Fallout 4. But instead of dreary buildings and brown skies, there's nothing. Literally nothing. Only the grass Paul walks on and the darkness that seems to stretch for miles. The only visible light now seems to be emanating from Paul's own character. Now, there's something I didn't even realize until multiple viewings of this video. Watch the loading screen when Paul travels from Even Care to here. Did you see that? Well, I didn't either. Not until you adjust the brightness with some post-editing until you see this. I'm unsure what this is. It looks like a crude drawing of a child, but it's really hard to make out. And it clearly isn't a cheap jump scare because without post-editing, I wouldn't have been able to show you this. This face, if you can even call it that, does have some relevancy, which we'll talk about later on. After a while, Paul finds what looks to be some sort of hatch and comments how he can't open it. And with no way to open the door, Petscop 1 concludes,